Hello family, Sir here, and now that President Biden has been sworn in, I want to talk to you about his housing plan and how I think it will impact the market and how you can take advantage of it. Stick around because if you hear this information and apply it, you can position yourself properly and end up saving yourself over $10,000 in your future home purchase. Let's get into it. I'm Sir Ashley, and on this channel we talk about money, personal finance, real estate, and all things Charlotte. And if you like any one of those things, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and also tap on that bell icon so you can be notified when we drop new videos. But before we get into the topic of this video, I hope you don't mind if I preface it a little bit. In this video, I'm going to go over Biden's proposed housing plan and the programs they plan on implementing. But I want to make it abundantly clear for both you and myself that we should not rely on any administration or political party to be our savior or saving grace. However, I want you, my family, my tribe, my viewers, to know and understand what this administration is doing as a whole and what people in power are doing as a whole so you can plan and position yourself to take advantage of their policies and programs moving forward. In order to fully capitalize and take advantage of the system, one must understand what's going on in the system. Law school taught me that everyone knows the rules, but those in power, whether it be political power or economic power, know the exceptions to the rules and know how to position themselves to take advantage of the system and the rules, regardless of who's implementing those rules. So right now, let's talk about the rules, and when the official policy is put out, we will go over those rules again, along with exceptions, so we can put ourselves in a position to take full advantage of the system. Now, with that said, let's jump into the Biden administration's proposed housing plan. The Biden administration is proposing to fund $640 billion toward housing over the next 10 years. Now, I touched on this housing plan in my video about how to buy a house in 2021. Be sure to check that video out. There will be a link to that video in the description. There may be a pop-up right here. The fact that the Biden administration is at least acknowledging that the housing market is facing some serious challenges and plan on putting forth money and programs to address these challenges is a welcome first step. And regardless of where you fall on the political spectrum, I hope we can all agree that at a very minimum, everyone needs and deserves safe and affordable housing. Okay, so there's a $640 billion fund. Let's dive into what this fund is aimed to address. Number one is redlining and reverse redlining. If you're unsure what redlining is, it's the illegal practice of refusing to provide financial services and loans to consumers based on where they live. Every American city has been guilty of this practice, and I mean every American city. In fact, here are two maps from the city of Charlotte. The first map is from the 1930s, and you can see areas of the map in red and with black letters. The red areas highlights where banks would not allow blacks to borrow money to buy a house. You will also note that the names of these communities are written in black ink, so it further highlights and indicates where blacks lived. Now you will also see other neighborhoods on this map, and their names are in white ink to signify that whites lived in those areas. Now you may be thinking, sir, that map is from the 1930s, and remember, Lyndon Johnson signed the Fair Housing Act of 1968. So you're just bringing up old stuff. This really isn't relevant for today. I wish that was the case, because this is a second map and it's from the 1980s. And while the map's creators smartened up and did not use huge red circles to target areas where they will not lend money, you can still see there's a clear delineation of making sure that whoever looked at this map knew exactly where blacks lived, the black neighborhoods have black ink on them, and where whites lived, because those neighborhoods have white ink. Now, this may be an awkward time to bring this up, but if you gained any information or insight from this video, go ahead and hit that like button. It helps the channel out and lets me know that you enjoy this type of content. But I also encourage you to do the reverse as well. If you don't like this content, be sure to hit that thumbs down button, because either way, I want to know what you enjoy and how I can improve on helping you. So yes, redlining still exists to this day, and it is a huge problem. But what's even more of a problem and more prevalent today is reverse redlining. Reverse redlining is the practice of targeting these same black and minority communities for predatory lending, a practice where banks and lending institutions reserve the loans with the highest interest rates for black and brown people. I'll leave some articles and resources in the description below if you want to learn about redlining and reverse redlining and how it is still impacting today's society. The second thing the Biden administration wants to tackle is an increase in the housing supply. If you're in the market for a home in the Charlotte area right now, you know that inventory is crazy low, and inventory being low along with low interest rates is causing prices to skyrocket. Quick aside, my client and I looked at several properties this past week and we put an offer in on one. Now, the asking price for the property was $235,000. We came in with a purchase price of $255,000, $20,000 above asking price, and we didn't even get a call back. Our offer got thrown to the wayside. That is how crazy the market is right now. Another quick example about the price inflation and the lack of inventory is y'all remember back in April and May of last year. I won't mention those numbers because I promise to never say that year again. But you remember when toilet paper and Lysol were hot commodities and there was a shortage of them? People in stores were price gouging. And that is what's happening with the real estate market right now. So the Biden administration is planning to put forth $300 million to go solely to increasing the housing supply, with hopes that once the inventory picks back up, the housing prices will level off or even go down a little bit. Now, I am personally hoping that this portion, the 300 million, goes towards smaller home builders because since the crash in 2008, a lot of the smaller mom and pop builders got overlooked and ended up losing everything. And because most of those mom and pop builders went out of business, we are feeling the impact of them not having built homes for over the past 10 years. And that's one of the main reasons why there's a severe inventory shortage. Be sure to stick around to the end because while all of these are important, I believe that the last thing I touch on will have a huge impact on you being able to buy a home this coming year. All right, let's jump back into it. The third and fourth thing that the Biden housing plan wants to address is the energy efficiency in homes and to increase affordable housing. Now, the details on both of these things aren't really fleshed out just yet, and it's not entirely clear how they plan on accomplishing those two things. But when the official plan comes out, we will see clarification and hold them accountable. All right, the fifth and final portion of Biden's housing plan is to help with down payment assistance. Yes, the Biden administration wants to give first time home buyers a tax credit of up to $15,000 as down payment. You heard that correctly. Up to $15,000 as down payment. Now, a couple things I want to highlight is that their plan says up to $15,000, so that doesn't mean that everyone's getting $15,000. And the second thing I want to point out is that the idea of a tax credit for first-time home buyers is not a new or novel idea. The Bush administration did the same thing. It was a 7,500 tax credit. In fact, it was given to first-time home buyers, and the exact language said a tax credit can be 10% of the home purchase price up to $7,500. And then the Obama administration raised that up to $8,000. But what makes this Biden plan interesting and intriguing and potentially game-changing is the fact that the amount has been raised up to $15,000 and the fact that the recipients will get the money on the front end, meaning they can use it as a down payment assistance. In the prior administrations, the buyers would get a tax credit for this amount, but they would have to apply for it the next time they applied for taxes, so they couldn't really use that money up front. Here in the Biden administration, when you plan on buying a home, they will give you that money up front so you can use that money and then they will take it out of your taxes the following year. Now, that language change seems a bit small, but it has a huge impact on buyers' ability to purchase a home. You see, one of the biggest impediments that home buyers have is the down payment and not having enough money for the down payment and closing costs, which could be anywhere from $7,000 to $20,000. And if you don't have the money to come out of pocket with that money at closing, you cannot buy a home. But the Biden housing plan is taking this impediment out of the way and saying they are going to give you up to $15,000 as down payment. Now, this policy makes a huge attempt at leveling the playing field for trying to buy a home. Now, let me quickly touch on how I think this could positively and negatively impact the housing market in Charlotte and the housing market across the country. Well, first, this housing plan, and in particular the tax credit portion, has a huge potential to skyrocket housing prices even further because sellers and builders aren't living in a vacuum. They'll know that buyers have this additional purchasing power and they'll increase the home prices to capitalize on it. So that is a huge concern that I have. And the second concern I have has to do with the speed of implementation. The proposals and plans are good, but I'm sure we all understand and know by now that our government's implementation of things isn't always the swiftest. And people are suffering right now and need help right now. And these programs and initiatives are going to be massive and bring about large scale change. So I hope that they are able to implement these programs and policies in a very prudent and fast way. Biden's housing plan has the potential to have a huge positive impact on society, and specifically first time home buyers, those needing affordable housing, and those communities who have been victims of predatory lending. So we, as the people, have to hold them accountable and hold all of our elected officials accountable for their actions and inactions, and make sure we position ourselves to benefit from the policies they enact. Let me know your thoughts on the Biden housing plan. Do you like it? Do you believe it will make an impact? What are your thoughts? Leave them in the comments or shoot me a message about them. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions about the Charlotte market or interested in buying or selling here in the Charlotte area, please reach out to my team and I. The contact information will be in the description or it should be somewhere on this video right now. I'm Sir Ashley. I hope this was beneficial. Talk soon.